This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. There's a lot of talk right now based on the new protective order that was entered by Judge Chutkan against Donald Trump and his team as they continue to try to interfere with the proper administration of justice, witness tamper, and impact improperly and pollute the future jury pool. Judge Chutkan, unlike Judge Cannon down in Florida, has made it clear, based on words that she said in the courtroom and that's reflected in her protective order, that this is just another criminal defendant in front of her, one that is currently out on bond conditions, which require him not to tamper with witnesses or evidence, and that his day job, her words, not mine, may be running for the presidency of the United States, but to her, politics stays at the courthouse steps before he enters the room, and she's not going to give him any slack or quarter. In fact, she said she's very concerned that anything that he says or his lawyers say, and they've been pounding the pavement, going on every news show that'll have him, especially John Lauro, and surrogates for Donald Trump, like his former lawyers that already left or got fired, like Jim Trusty, who were trying to stay relevant, or Evan Corcoran. They're all going on television as shills, right, as proxies for Donald Trump. And the judge has said, if this crosses lines and starts looking more like witness tampering and jury interference and less like legitimate First Amendment speech for a campaign for the presidency, I'm going to do whatever's necessary to protect the sanctity of the trial and the judicial administration process, because that's the job that I was appointed to do. And with that in mind, some people might be thinking, oh, idle words, what could a federal judge do if you violate, their orders, their edicts, their directions, their instructions? And I'm here to tell you, as a practicing federal trial lawyer for more than 32 years, don't mess around with a person who's wearing a black robe and has a lifetime appointment. There is no more serious direction or instruction that you can get than in a criminal case by a federal judge. And just to show you the compare and contrast here, or the compare and compare, what could happen? We have a version of it that Donald Trump and his lawyers must be aware of, because a judge that they are in effect related to and have a case in front of just sent a lead criminal defendant to jail, to federal detention, because he violated the terms of his release from custody, from his bond conditions. And it doesn't matter who it is. In this case, it's Sam Bankman Fried, the former founder of FTX, the cryptocurrency concern and firm. And Judge Lewis Kaplan, a federal judge who's up in New York, in the Southern District of New York, but very well respected, he just had a hearing brought together by a filing by the Department of Justice, arguing that Sam Bankman Fried improperly leaked, almost like revenge porn, romantic writings and musings and pieces of diary. Sound familiar with the Hunter Biden and the daughter for Joe Biden being leaked by Republican operatives? Sam Bankman Fried, sitting and awaiting a multi-billion-dollar fraud criminal case brought by the Eastern District of New York through the Department of Justice, decided that he was going to leak his former girlfriend, who's testifying against him, right? Her most private, intimate thoughts contained in a diary that he had because he used to be the boyfriend. And he leaked it to the New York Times. And they published it. And right away, the Justice Department, the Eastern District of New York, U.S. Attorney's Office, put it in front of Judge Lewis Kaplan. What's the link between Judge Lewis Kaplan and Donald Trump? That's where the E. Jean Carroll sex, assault, battery, and defamation cases have been tried against Donald Trump, and he's lost at every turn against E. Jean Carroll. One of the reasons is because Lewis Kaplan, the judge, has ruled against Donald Trump every time because there's no merit to any of his arguments. Why am I comparing or showing you what could happen? Because Sam Bankman Fried was such a narcissist and so full of himself that he thought under house arrest it would be appropriate to try to bash and undermine the credibility of a witness against him, in other words, witness tamper, And by doing so, releasing, like I said, like revenge porn, her diary and intimate thoughts that ended up published in the New York Times. Almost like a shot across the bow telling his old girlfriend, I have more. And if you don't stop testifying against me and cooperating with the government, you're going to be terribly embarrassed in the paper. Well, the Department of Justice brought that to Judge Lewis Kaplan's attention. And he looked over the bond conditions and the conditions of his release, just like conditions that have been put against Donald Trump, and said, I think, sir, that you have violated them. And now you don't get the luxury of staying out of jail or on house arrest on a bond while you await trial. Now for the next 6 or 8 months, you get to go stay in an orange, or I think they're gray, jumpsuit in the Federal Detention Center, and we'll see you at the appropriate times at different intervals in your case. So Donald Trump, who continues to play with fire, right? He's not like the little child that puts his hand on the stove. He at times puts his entire face on the stove to see what he can get away with until somebody puts him in his place. Now, Judge Chutkan, who's presiding over the criminal Jan 6th indictment case against Donald Trump, has also similarly first warned Donald Trump and his lawyers just in the last couple of days. She has set up, as I said on the Legal AF podcast this past weekend, tripwires, trigger wires, right, attached to landmines, waiting for Donald Trump and his lawyers to trigger them and blow off their legs. And Donald Trump is so undisciplined and is so rogue that he'll set these things off. He'll trigger these bombs that have been set. And he'll do it, and he'll try to argue it's some sort of First Amendment right to do it while he's on the campaign trail. Have you heard of senescent cells, also known as zombie cells? These old, worn-out cells no longer serve a useful function for our health, wasting our energy and nutritional resources. These zombie cells tend to accumulate in our bodies as we age, leading to the aches, slow workout recoveries, and sluggish mental and physical energy associated with that middle-age feeling. Our sponsor, Neurohacker, packs 7 of the most science-backed senolytic ingredients into one formula called Qualia Senolytic. And you can take it just 2 days a month for fast, noticeable benefits and a much better aging process. Senolytic ingredients are science-backed to support our body's natural elimination of zombie cells. Maintaining my pace in life is hard enough if I'm feeling in my physical and mental prime, let alone if I start letting age slow me down. That's why I use Qualia Senolytic. My body and energy levels feel about 15 years younger after just a couple of months of adding Qualia Senolytic to my diet, and I love how easy it is to take. Having more physical and mental energy for my family and friends is such a win in how I show up for those I love. My productivity has doubled. I feel invigorated and enthusiastic with a daily drive and enthusiasm to get things done. The formula is non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, and the ingredients are meant to complement one another, factoring in the combined effect of all ingredients together. It's also backed by a 100-day money-back guarantee. So you have almost 3 months to try Qualia Senolytic at no financial risk and decide for yourself. If you're in your late 20s or older, adding Qualia Senolytic to your diet can play a crucial role in combating negative aging symptoms. Go to neurohacker.com/legal for up to 50% off Qualia Senolytic. And as a listener and viewer of Legal AF, use code LEGAL at checkout for an extra 15% off your first purchase. That's neurohacker.com/legal to try Qualia Senolytic with code LEGAL and start aging on your terms. So all that's going to happen is in the next, 30, 60, 90 days. It took Sam Bankman Fried about 4 months to screw up. I think it'll happen sooner for Donald Trump. For the Department of Justice, who is scouring the internet and the dark recesses of the dark web and right-wing media, looking for anything that Donald Trump says anywhere, on a podcast, on an interview, at a rally, at a fundraiser, in a mailer, in an email, in a social media posting, and take that, type it up, and send it right in to Judge Chutkan and say, see, you told him not to witness tamper. You told him, Your Honor, not to interfere with the administration of justice. You told him not to interfere with the ability to pick a fair jury pool, an impartial jury pool. And he's done just that. Here's example A, B, C, D, E, F, down to double Z. And they don't play either, Jack Smith and the Department of Justice. And they're smarter and have more power and have more bandwidth than the lawyers representing Donald Trump, which are apparently so outmatched and don't have the resources that, remember, when they argued against the protective order that just got entered, they said they wanted volunteer lawyers and other consultants to be able to assist them. That's because Donald Trump is running out of money. I'll do another hot take about how low the coffers are, right? His dollars aren't going on radio buys, radio ad buys, or TV ad buys, or to hold a giant rally. That's why he hasn't had a lot of them lately. Or if he's had them, nobody shows up because he's running out of money because the lawyers are sucking it out, right? And he's upset about it. We'll talk about that in another hot take. But my point here is Judge Chutkan is going to pull him into a hearing. And he's going to say, you and your two lawyers, I gave you a warning once before. One more time, and you're going to be taken off the campaign trail, and you're going to be cooling your heels in a federal detention center. How'd you like that? So just wait. If somebody at the level of Sam Bankman Fried, who thought he could turn over, his former lover's notes to the New York Times with impunity, thought he could get away with it, Donald Trump thinks he can get away with anything until proven otherwise. And that's why Judge Chutkan is so important here for democracy and for justice, and drawing that line in the sand and digging herself in. And she let it be known to the lawyers on the protective order hearing that they asked for who's in charge. As I said on the Saturday Legal AF, it was like a laser beam. It was like, you ever saw the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? This was federal judge shrunk former president. It was like a laser beam that shrunk Donald Trump down to about 2.5 feet tall, as she sat appropriately 10 feet above everyone on her bench, wearing a black robe and having the American flag behind her, and reminding him that he is a criminal defendant. In fact, she said more than once in that hearing, his First Amendment rights have to yield to the fact that he is a criminal defendant, and the administration of justice is my primary concern. That's all you have to know. That means she's on the right path compared to the judge in Miami, in Fort Pierce, in South Florida, who always seems to get off on the wrong foot in her analysis, because she starts with the premise that Donald Trump should be given special accommodations, special dispensation. And Judge Chutkan let it be known, not in my courthouse, not in my courtroom, and not in this case, which is, of course, has led Donald Trump to then mercilessly attack her. The only one he doesn't attack is Eileen Cannon. You never see him say anything nasty about Eileen Cannon, but against Tanya Chutkan, an Obama liberal appointment. She was confirmed almost without opposition by the Senate in 2009. I think it was 95-0. Okay? Her husband is also a judge who was appointed by Obama to be a D.C. Superior Court judge. So being a judge runs in the family. She had been a corporate lawyer, and including doing very complicated cases and defensive cases, mainly on corporation side, not on some sort of liberal grassroots side. She was with Boyce Schiller, one of the largest law firms in the country that does this kind of corporate dispute type work. And she was a partner there and tried more than 20 cases. And she's tried hundreds of cases or had them tried as she presided over them in the District of Columbia. She's shortlisted for the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned, had been for a long, long time if Joe Biden ever gets another chance to appoint somebody on the Supreme Court. So the takeaway on this particular hot take is Tanya Chutkan has drawn multiple lines in the sand. I like to think of them as tripwires. Donald Trump will invariably trip over them and blow off his limbs. And as a result, he'll be back in that courtroom for violation of her orders about protecting and preserving the sanctity of the administration of justice, And if he doesn't cut it out and knock it off and stop trying to abuse the process, future jurors and witnesses who, as the judge noted, can't protect themselves, she'll have to. Part of it may be putting him off the campaign trail and in some sort of house arrest or detention. We shall see what happens next. We'll follow it closely in one place that I know of, the MeidasTouch network on YouTube. We're pushing 2 million subscribers. It's all free, but you'll get this type of content on hot takes like this one at the intersection of law and politics by a practicing lawyer for more than 32 years in courthouses just like this one and in cases just like this one, only on the MeidasTouch network. We curate the best of these stories. You like hot takes? Wait till you see our podcast every Wednesday and Saturday on the YouTube channel for MeidasTouch. It's called Legal AF. And then we put it out on podcast platforms. We're in the top 50 worldwide in news, top 20 in news analysis, all podcasts. Think about how many podcasts are out there. And that's because this is the quality and the quantity of the things you're going to see from us here and only here. You like what I'm doing? I'm Michael Popok. You can follow me on all things social media at MS Popok. And if you like what I'm doing here, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. Until the next hot take, I'm Michael Popok, Legal AF.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.